Hey garden friends, today let's talk about 10 things you need to know about zinnias. Yes, I know, many pronounce it zinnias and it's probably the proper way, but I've always called it zinnias and I'm not stopping now. So, you know what I'm talking about. So let's proceed with our zinnias. Yeah, zinnias have been one of my go-to easy annuals to grow in the garden. And that's because they perform so well with not a lot of effort, but they do need the right conditions. And we're going to go through those. We're going to go through 10 things that will help you to be successful in your zinnia growing adventure. So I have my notes and I will refer to them. So number one, zinnias love the heat. The more the better. In hot summer climates, zinnias will be one of your more reliable flowers. In fact, when many plants or flowers are kind of going over for the summer or really not doing well in the heat, your zinnias will absolutely put on an outstanding show. And they thrive. They thrive in the heat. So right from the beginning, they need that warmth. So the zinnia's seeds need warm soil to germinate well. I see a lot of people who say they are winter sowing zinnias and they've had success. But did you know that if you start them in cooler conditions, it can make for a weaker plant? And yes, you may have been able to plant them out and done okay. That doesn't mean it was what the best way to do it was. You could have had even better success if you had given them what they need, and that is warm soil. You need at least 65 degrees for germination, or a good germination, and then preferably 70 to 75 degrees to get germination and a strong plant. Just because you can start them in cooler conditions doesn't mean you should. But if you want to, I'm not stopping you. I'm just saying if you want, like if you're buying for premium seeds, like some people like to buy from florets. I just had a friend, she was telling me how she bought some beautiful colors from florets. And don't you want to make sure you get the most bang for your buck? And that's what this is all about. None of these are something that you have to do if you want to do it some way differently. But I'm just giving you the hints and tips and tricks so that you get the best from what you're trying to do. So yes, zinnia seeds do need warmth. And if it's too cool, they may rot. Like if you're winter sowing, you might have put 10 seeds in and you'll get 5 zinnias. And yes, it might have been easy for you because it's just easy to throw the containers out in the winter. But wouldn't you, if you paid premium prices for your zinnias, love it to have gotten 10 seeds to germinate instead of only 5. So the other 5 may have rotted in the cool, moist conditions. So germination will be slow and uneven, and seedlings, they will be weak from the start, meaning they will be more susceptible as they grow out in your garden to pests and diseases. And a lot of people complain about fungus, powdery mildew on them. We'll address how you can mitigate that a little bit more. But you don't want susceptible plants. And that is one thing I learned when I went to the 2023 horticultural show, and there were some presentations, and the importance of strong seedlings cannot be emphasized enough. Okay, so if your garden hits 90 to 100 in summer, zinnias are likely to outperform any other annuals, but they still need that warm start to really shine. So number 2, full sun is non-negotiable. Yes, they need at least 6 to 8 hours of direct sun every day and to perform well. And also that also mitigates problems. But if they're in too much shade, you'll get leggy stems, they'll flop over, fewer blooms, and what do we grow them for? We want the flowers, right? Yeah. Increased disease issues. So if you're deciding where to plant them, always choose your absolute sunniest spot in your garden. So number 3, they grow best from seed. And it really is very easy. So they're one of the easiest flowers to grow from seed. And you can direct sow them right into the garden after frost if your soil is warm enough. Now, our last frost date is the third weekend of May. But just because that's my last frost date does not mean the soil is warm enough for heat-loving plants. If you are to put your zinnias out too early, even if the air temperatures are warmer, if your soil temperatures are cool, you still may face problems. Just know that. So I would wait until the soil warmed up more. So we'd had a week or two of very warm weather and the soil conditions have warmed up. Sometimes that's the blessing of raised beds because they will warm up faster as well as containers. So, yeah, they often will perform better if you direct sow them rather than starting them inside and then putting them out. Now, last year I did both. Number one, because my seedlings kept getting eaten by something and I did not know what it was. And so I grew some indoors to put out just so I could have them until I figured out what the problem was and I could mitigate that. So they don't really like the root disturbance. And most of the time you can start some indoors early, 6 to 8 weeks early, and then direct sow when the soil is warm enough. Those direct sown zinnias will catch up to the ones that you started earlier. So really for me, it is not worth it to start them early. I will not get earlier blooms. I will not get better plants. If I wait, and because we have a short growing season, that is why I thought starting earlier would work better. But I should test it again this year. This is such a weird year. You don't know what it's going to turn out to be like. So I will try. I'll go ahead and start a few indoors, and then I'll go ahead and put them out and then start some direct sown, and we'll see how they do through the summer. How's that? Okay, number 4. I kind of edged into this already. Don't plant too early. Even if you start them indoors, do not put them out until the soil has warmed. Zinnias hate cold soil. They sulk, meaning they will sit there, not do anything if it's too cold, and that will weaken them. Even if you could have starts that started great and be healthy and you put them out in cold soil, they will sit there and just become weaker. Weakened makes them susceptible to pest pressure and also those diseases. So if you plant them too early, growth will stall. As I said, sit there and sulk, and plants will struggle all season. So wait until your soil's warm and nights are consistently mild. That's where I struggle because our nights, even through the summer, can dip pretty cool. So zinnias can sometimes be fussy for me, but I still love them and I still try. When in doubt, wait a little longer. So I test my soil temperatures with a meat thermometer. I have one that's digital, and I got it at Tractor Supply or something. It was by the Weber barbecues, and you stick that in, and that'll tell you what the soil temperature is. You'd be surprised at how fast it warms up. But again, like I said, raised beds really do warm up faster. Okay, number 5, airflow matters more than you think. So zinnias are prone to powdery mildew, especially later on in the season. To prevent this, one is to space your plants properly. Now, a lot of times people will toss the seeds and let them grow up all together. I've done it. But when they're overcrowded, then it's more of a chance of having that fungal problem earlier, and it kind of makes them look ratty. So don't overhead water when possible. There's 2 reasons for that. One is the powdery mildew, and getting the moisture all around it. And the other is if they're blooming, the water catches on the flower and it could make them flop. So good airflow can make the difference between thriving plants and ones that look tired by midsummer. Again, we'll talk about that in a bit. The more you cut and pinch, the more they bloom. This is number 6. Zinnias are what we call a cut and come again flower. Cosmos are the same, dahlias are the same, what other things? A lot of other things are cut and come again. And the more you harvest or pick as cut flowers, the more stems they produce. And the bushier the plant will become. Now, there's one step here that we'll talk about that makes them even bushier and it's done earlier, and that's called pinching. Now, when your zinnias are about 8 to 10, 12 inches tall, you can snip off the growing tip. And I'll give you an example of that. You see this tomato? Same principle, but you see this is the growing tip right here. I would just pinch this out. You can do this with tomatoes too. I can even pinch further. If I wanted to pinch down here, I'd pinch down there. This will bulk up. And this, if I'd have started with the taller one, I could have propagated that. I don't need any more early girl tomatoes. I've got 7 or 8 here. See, so I didn't bother with that. But that is pinching. You do that with your zinnias, and it will branch out and become bulkier, and the stems will become stockier, and that makes them stronger. So, yeah, sometimes it's hard to do because it does set back the blooming just by a week or two. But you will be glad because instead of 1 bloom, you'll get 2. So yeah, instead of 1 tall stem, you'll get branching. So that makes side shoots grow. You get more stems, means more flowers, and the plant stays sturdier and less floppy. If you skip it, you'll often get 1 main bloom on a tall stem. And if you pinch, you'll get a fuller, more productive plant that keeps giving all season. And once they start blooming, don't be shy about cutting. And every stem you bring indoors encourages even more to grow. And I will say, when you are going to go to cut, to make sure that it's ready, you can kind of grab down maybe a foot or 2 and wave it. And if that's really floppy, it's too soon. But if it's got a little stiffness, then it's time to cut. And it will do well in your vase. I'm pretty sure that's the order of things. Now, I will tell you, there is a gal, she's in zone 3, short growing season, shifting roots. She's up in Canada. And she has, if you have a short growing season, she's zone 3, then you really would enjoy her channel and blog, because she really has a lot of hints from somebody who personally grows in a super cool climate as well as a short growing season. And funny enough, our growing seasons, mine and hers, are very similar, right? So number 7, this is a good one. Not all zinnias are the same. So there's many types of zinnias, so choosing the right one can make a big difference on how they perform in your garden. So some popular types are the tall ones. Zinnia elegans, perfect for cutting gardens with long stems. Then there's the compact varieties, and they're great for containers and borders. So then there's Zinnia augustifolia types, more compact and naturally more disease resistance. So there's Zahara and the profusion zinnias, which are bred to be overall tougher. So that might be the route you go, but these are the more compact. So they're more disease resistant, especially to powdery mildew. They're more heat and drought tolerant, and they're more reliable in less than perfect conditions. So if you're just getting started with zinnias, that might be the way to go. So they are described sometimes as being more cold tolerant, but that's not quite accurate. They're still a warm season plant, including Zahara, but they still prefer warm soil and will be damaged by frost. I've seen some that put them out right now. And yeah, that's if you live in a cooler area like I do as far as this time of year. I'm a zone 8B, but that doesn't mean I have a long growing season, and that confuses a lot of people. Go by, like I said, your soil temperatures. Yours, you could live, I have one viewer in El Paso, Texas, and she's really explained when she can plant things because of her personal garden conditions, which are so dramatically different than mine. And what I would say, if I gave a date, would be completely inaccurate for her. So that's why I tell people to garden by your area, your microclimate, and your little garden. Do not go by zones, because zones can be very deceptive as far as when you can plant out and when you cannot. And yeah, you've got to kind of experiment. Learn from gardeners in your area that have had success, and they will give you some hints on what does well in your particular area, when you can plant, kind of an idea of when. It can vary year to year. but there is an average. So I would go with that rather than watching me put something out and think, oh, it's time to put them out. She's in 8B, I'm in 7A. It must be likely to be able to do it. Or I'm 8B, she's 7A. Oh, she's doing it. She's in a lower zone. I can do it too. That's not how it works. So just, yeah, garden for your own conditions and go by your soil temperature. I would really recommend getting away, like even the meat thermometer, I think it was $20 to test your soil temps before putting yours out, no matter what anybody else says. You want, if you're going to go to the trouble of growing things from seed, you want the success, and you want to know it's going to grow for you and not sit there, sulk, become susceptible to bugs, and be eaten up. Also be careful of deer and rabbits. I have no hints for rabbits, you guys. The only thing I could say is, because I don't deal with rabbits, I went to the Chicago Botanical Garden and they had these short little fences around the beds. And I thought, oh, that's pretty. And I was talking to a docent or whatever they called their gardener. And they said, yeah, that, even though they're not that tall, they don't obscure the flowers, they do prevent the rabbits from feasting on everything. I guess those rabbits didn't hop over them. I thought for sure they'd just hop over them, but they didn't. And I guess it was a tight enough weave on the decorative border fence that they couldn't squeeze through. So there's that. You could try it. Let me know how it works for you. All right. Yeah, so what these varieties do, like the Sahara and the Profusion, is they do offer resilience. They can handle stress better, stay looking good longer, and often carry your garden through the tougher parts of the season with less fuss. If you struggled with zinnias in the past, trying one of these newer types can make all the difference. So yeah, that's what I would. So just give them a try and see how they work for you. So zinnias prefer lean soil. Now this is why I am doing these particular flowers. These are all flowers like the cosmos and what have you that I'm going through. The different ones are going in my secret cottage garden where I'm redoing the beds because of the tree damage we had, and I have to redo them anyways. And I thought I want super easy, inexpensive plants that are going to make it on their own and I don't have to baby them. And yes, zinnias are one of those. And it's sandy soil out there, so I don't want to have to be fertilizing every week or all of that. So unlike garden plants, zinnias don't need rich, heavy amended soil. Yeah, if you have clay, you really need to lighten it up because they really don't like clay soil either. You know, you can use, I use horticultural sand, you can compost something to loosen it up but not enrich it. So too much fertilizer or too rich of a soil can lead to a lot of leaves and fewer flowers, as well as make floppy plants. So they're happiest in average to slightly poor soil, which makes them perfect for the low maintenance garden, and is why I'm going to grow them in the secret cottage garden. So 9, they attract pollinators like crazy. Butterflies love them, bees love them, and beneficial insects. So you are going to have a feast for all your pollinator friends. And yeah, it'll be just a buzzing garden. So 10, succession sow for blooms all season long. I told you I was going to get to this. So if you want zinnias blooming from early summer, if it's warm enough, all the way to frost, don't plant them just once. So instead, succession sow every 2 to 3 weeks for a continuous supply of fresh plants. Now, if you get powdery mildew, then you can cut those plants off if you've already started more. The young plants will be healthy and robust, and it'll probably be hotter then, so they will do beautifully, and they will fill in where those other plants that you want to get rid of that have the powdery mildew. So they're fast growers. Many, they come to flower in about 60 days. Early plantings can get tired or develop the mildew. New plantings stay fresh, vigorous, and full of blooms. So what I like to do is I tuck in a few seeds into open spaces as soon as the season goes on. And this goes back to spacing your original planting well. And the seed packet will tell you what they recommend for that variety. And so, yeah, read it and understand that that's there for a reason. Doesn't have to be formal, just here and there, and it keeps the garden looking full and lively. For me, they do not reseed of their own volition and come back the next year. So once the season is ending, I will let some go to seed. And if you have many colors, they will often cross-pollinate. You will not get the same color. But if you want to get the same color when they are blooming and you can see the stamen, you can get a paintbrush, get the pollen off of it, and then go pollinate on the female part of another, and then get the seeds once that start, because once it's pollinated, it's done. And then you can collect the seeds from that. Now there's some hybrids, F1 hybrids or whatever, that you cannot do that. They will not come true from seeds. So you will have to just buy more of that. One I'm thinking of is the Queenie Lime series. Is that what it's called? Queenie Lime? Queen Lime. Those didn't do well for me. And here's another caveat I want to tell you. If you buy a packet of seeds and you grow them and they're of a color that everybody's oohing and ahhing over and they're so beautiful and they grow in your garden and you kind of go, meh, this isn't pretty. What's everybody raving about? It could be your soil. Not that your soil's bad, but the soil can affect the color of your flowers. So that variety just doesn't like your soil conditions. I've had that happen. I did that with the Queen Lime series. They were unimpressive. In fact, I yanked them out because they just were taking up space and I did not enjoy them. So keep that in mind. Don't be disappointed if something doesn't look like everyone else has gotten and you're wondering why. The same with the amazing gray poppies. Mine were this muddy mauve. They were not anywhere near the pretty gray that you see in other people's gardens. So yes, your soil can affect colors. So find what does bloom beautiful colors in your garden and stick with that. You can try the others like I did and find out they just don't work for you. But don't think you're doing something wrong because they don't come up the color that you had hoped. Alrighty. So zinnias, they're very common. They're not exotic, but they are very, very rewarding and they're worth a spot in your garden. So zinnias teach you something about gardening. It doesn't have to be complicated, expensive to be beautiful. The simplest plants, they can really bring a lot of joy. In fact, I would say many times they bring you the most joy because they don't require a lot of input from you. You could plant them and just enjoy. So if you let them, they can fill in big blocks of color in your garden and just bring you delight, especially during a time when many others are fading away or not a lot of things are putting on a grand show. So that is my scoop on the 10 things you need to know about zinnias. Hopefully it came through very understandable. And please do grow zinnias in your garden. Let me grab my seed packets. Now I'm growing, like I said, several things in my secret cottage garden, like cosmos, the echinacea I just did, the common or classic echinacea, as well as, let me see, I want to grow zinnias. Now these I got at the dollar store. Purple Prince. This was 2 for $1. This was our Dollar General. And this is American Seed Company, and I think you can get these for 3 for $1.25 at Dollar Tree. Our Dollar Tree didn't have them this year. Last year it was 4 for $1, but we know everything's going up. But I was thrilled to get these at Dollar General, and yeah, there's plenty in here. Purple Prince, beautiful, beautiful color. They have done gorgeous. This one I got from Baker Creek. Dream Deep Rosy Lavender. I like these ones that are a little bit more open. And that's, Zenita Rose. This one, see how very tiny pot? So this one I wanted to do in containers Now I'm also doing 10 things you need to know about growing in containers or container gardening. So stay tuned for that. And yeah, some other things I have started are in here. Let me see. I wanted to say something here. In one of my perennial, I think 15 perennials that reseed themselves or that are fast spreading. I can't remember which one. I recommended foxgloves. I have always recommended foxgloves for your cottage garden. This has nothing to do with them being poisonous or toxic. I've never had any issues. But I was told that they are considered invasive in the foothills of California. That's where I live, in the mountains. And I was shocked. I've never had them spread anywhere. Nothing. I looked it up and they are invasive here. So I don't have that many right now because I've been kind of editing out areas where they have been. And now I need to really question whether or not I'm going to let them continue going. I don't want to cause problems. I have been growing them here for 35 years. I've never seen any across the street in the woods. I've never seen any in my neighbors' yards where they've been taken, the seeds from the birds and planted. But that doesn't mean they couldn't become a problem. So yeah, that's just something I'm thinking about. So I recommend always, with things like perennials especially that reseed or whatever, to check and see if things like that are invasive in your area. Now there's some that are hybrids that are not as vigorous as the regulars, like my peach one I started one, it's out there, Dalmatian peach or something. So maybe those, because they don't really reseed readily or heavily, maybe they aren't as invasive. But yeah, I just wanted to pass that on because it was news to me. And thank you for the viewer who let me know that. I'm always learning something new and I always appreciate it. So, yep, that's the Zinnias I'm growing this year. And I may grow more. I like the white profusion ones too. They just seem to add a pop of white everywhere. I have the teddy bear white. I have the lime one. I can't remember what it was called. I hated it. I just yanked it out. I did not like that color in my garden, and it couldn't have been the same as it was one of those that did not produce a pretty color of lime in my garden. But I think it's called Green Envy or something like that. I can't remember that. All right, I will see you in my next video where I will be sharing something more. I have other flowers I'm going to be growing in the Secret Cottage Garden that are super easy. One of them is Verbena bonariensis. I know a lot of people pronounce it Verbena bonariensis, another one of those things, and others that I have around. And I showed you the hardy geranium. This summer when it's in bloom, I'll share that with you even more. You can see how beautiful it is. It is spreading itself like crazy. I'm surprised it isn't considered invasive here, but anyways, all right. I will see you in my next video. Bye.